User joined your channel.
Hello, Jonatan.
Hello and welcome to round 5 of the HSO Can-Am 1971 Championship, coming to you tonight from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And with me in the booth tonight we have Alberto Ibañez.
Hello, everybody.
And Scott Urick.
Good evening.
It's good to have you both with us, and looking to be quite a interesting race by all accounts.
So what happened for you, Scott? How come you're not racing?
More of the same brake problems I had at Watkins Glen for the brief time I was in that race. And just wasn't getting the grip on the car, didn't have the prep time that I needed, so I thought I had best just get out of everyone's way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's been some kind of present that rained from the heaven from someone.
Yes.
Well, possibly. It depends on what happens in the race. I mean, someone else could be causing troubles instead, but we'll see as the race comes. But yeah, as I said, we're at Mid-Ohio, a 3.862 kilometer track, or approximately 2.4 miles, and we'll be running for 80 laps, which equals just under 192 miles. So it'll be quite a long race for those racing in this event.
Mm-hmm. It will be certainly very tiring with these cars. It's a tight track. You have only the back stretch where you can actually relax a bit and somehow stretch your arms, but the rest of it is well, a carousel up and down, and also one turn after the other. It's very fun to drive. It's quite challenging. It's not easy to make a clean quick lap, but very tiring in the end.
It is indeed, and we are joined by a third fella for this broadcast, who I believe will leave late on in the race, but we'll see. But David Jaques is the fella joining us as well for this event.
Evening, gentlemen. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here, although it would have been nicer to have you on the track, considering you're laying third in the championship at the moment.
Sometimes things just don't work out, but that's alright. We'll take rides as they come available, else hopefully get to enjoy it by watching it with you guys.
Sounds like a plan. And talking off the points, let's bring them up on screen, where David Sable lies first on 55 points after winning last time out. Turned out dominantly so at Watkins Glen. Yves Placé lies second, who I believe finished second last time out, but came into trouble later on in that race on 47 points. and one of our co-commentators lies third, as I said earlier, on 36 points. Austin Ogonoski, who's not racing in the series anymore after some off-the-track antics, lies fourth on 30 points, and fifth after a couple of very strong rounds is Raul Jereb, who's on 28 points and steadily climbing up the leaderboard.
Yeah, Raul has been very consistent. He has been doing some very nice races with his car, always there in the top 5, and in the end, of course, it's going to pay off.
Certainly, and I also know that he signed out of the F1 Championship to solely drive in the Can-Ams due to lack of time, so that sort of proves what I was hinting at earlier, that he definitely seems more relaxed and at home in these Can-Am cars than the open-wheel European F1 cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are two very challenging series. I mean, you have to dedicate time for this. You have to put many practice hours, and in the end, well, if real life intervenes, as it usually does, then, well, it's time to bow out of one of the championships, as Raul very wisely has done, and concentrate in only one.
Very much so. And there's also been a few developments in terms of drivers switching teams, where we have Felipe Enrique joining the Josefet Automobiles. That's the blue and red Porsche, I believe number 20. But Felipe won't be driving tonight, and stepping in for him will be Jan Kowalski, a long-time member of HSO, but who haven't raced for quite a while. Jean-Marie Placet, I believe the father of Yves, joins the Midwest Racing team. I'm not sure exactly which car that is, but we'll check when
Yves is racing in the Ferrari. Jean-Marie is... he got a car for the series, but he was saying in the forum a moment ago that he had some lag issues, I believe.
Well, that's unfortunate. But hopefully he'll be able to run anyway. And Martin Lacina joins the William Wonder team. That's the purple and I believe yellow McLaren that Felipe Enrique had driven up until this point in the championship. Jason Fitch joins Apple Racing, stepping up a little bit in terms of the car he's using. He was struggling a lot in the old, I believe he was in one of the very old McLarens, and hopefully he'll, despite being a little bit down on practice this week, will feel a bit more at home in that car. And Mick Chapman joins Sid Taylor Racing. That's the white BRM that Jacob Fredriksson drove last time out. He too have had a bit of trouble getting used to these cars, and also due to work clashes he has decided to bow out of the championship. And possibly the biggest upset in the development side of things is that Grand Ridal now joins the UOP Shadow that Austin Ogonoski drove earlier, and he has showed his pace so far. I think last time I checked the leaderboard he was lying second in qualifying here.
It's definitely a good car.
Third I think, but still a very good run.
We'll be watching him because he will be doing some very good things with that car, that's for sure.
Certainly. And Martin Lacina, who's joined later on in the championship, has showed that he has some pace as well. I know he was up in the top 5 early on in qualifying, but he may have dropped down a little bit since then. So yeah, let's get ourselves onto the track with the cameras as well. And you can all see that we are currently sitting on the back straight camera looking at the racing going on. Or racing, well, qualifying is still going on. I think we're in the last 5 or so minutes of qualifying.
We're actually in warm-up, I believe.
Oh, we are in warm-up already, wow.
Yeah, Eve's got the pole. Yeah, but it ticked over to the next session very quickly. It's a quick warm-up now. And we will soon be racing here.
That wonderful Ferrari sound going on as you say that. And yeah, it should be a very interesting race, a very tiring race. Let's see if we have anyone going towards start-finish line. Yeah, we have Martin Lacina, so let's ride on board with him going into turn 1. A very fast sweeping left-hander. I believe 3rd gear, then into the keyhole chicane. Very quick right-left, and then a right into the keyhole itself. A very, very long right-hander. When I used to drive the track, I never think that turn will finish.
Yes, it's over a crest and off camber, so it is painful.
Indeed.
It is, with any powerful car is really painful.
And into turn 6 we go, at the end of the back straight, tight right-hander into a left-hander over crest. Very easy to get the car unsettled down here. And then into this right...
also off camber. Yeah.
Indeed. Into this right-hander a bit quicker, and then a quick left and a right flick over a crest. To get ourselves into the... Oh, as he runs wide.
That is the risk of that section of track. Good job of keeping it off the wall for the most part.
Indeed. And this is Thunder Valley, that right-hander that he missed. And up to here, this quick left-hander, where you need to try and get the car straightened to brake for the carousel. Another very, very long right-hander. Not quite as bad as the turn 4 on this layout of the track. And a quick flick onto the start-finish straight to finish off the lap.
And there's the helicopter and the birds that were added to this track. And some drivers were a bit angry because they found them very distracting. Someone was even talking about getting a gun and shooting down those birds.
Well, if you can't concentrate on a racing road, then you're either too tired or... yeah, well, I won't go any further with that. That was a bit on the naughty side. But again, as you could see while watching, it's there's a lot of elevation and off-camber corners, and these cars obviously isn't quite made for running on this kind of track.
This is generally a trademark of the American tracks. They always have lots of elevation changes. In Europe you have, of course, some of those, but mostly they are flat. Whereas in the case of the American tracks, you have Laguna Seca, you have Watkins Glen, you have East Mid Ohio. It's always a carousel up and down. It's very, very challenging and also very spectacular to see.
So we are also joined by Jason White, but I don't know if he just wants to listen in or if he has an announcement to make.
No announcement, just to say hello and thank you guys for covering the race today. I'll be watching out of the corner of my eye as I work. As some of you may be aware, we're building towards a big release coming up for obviously one of the crown jewels of our sim racing calendar. I just wanted to also check with Jonatan. Would you like me to give the start and chat so you don't have to do double duty? Because I can do that very quickly from where I'm at.
Well, either you or Alberto usually does that, so you two can squabble over that if you want. But it works either way for me.
Alberto, what do you think?
Oh, as you please. I have no problem. I will be otherwise concentrating in the broadcast. Will we be giving the start before the actual start-finish line, or are we going for the backstretch?
No, this race in 71 began in the regular spot in front of the pits.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think so.
I will. You guys can focus on the broadcast. I will give the green in chat myself.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks again, guys, very much. I'll be watching and hope to see you guys on the track again at some point.
You're very much welcome.
Okay, so I guess most of the track is okay for overtaking here. There are no really bad spots. So
not really. I mean, as long as as you both behave yourselves, then it should be possible to run side by side. But when it comes to lapping, it'll be very difficult for the car being lapped, because it's right, left, right, left, right, left. There's not really any straights as such. As we are riding on board with Jan Kowalski in the Porsche, just having a listen and a look, as he's in one of the probably quicker cars around this track. My apologies there, I just wanted to make a quick sound change to try and make the engine sound a little bit louder. Because it seemed just a tad bit silent.
So look at this, we have more people here at the broadcast booth than ever, and there we go, silent.
Quite. But well, it is just before race time, so everyone is probably a little bit tense and a little bit in wonderment of what is actually going to happen in the race. Because everything and probably anything can and will happen in this race, just like at the previous rounds as well. And I think the timer has ran out, more or less.
Yeah, we were waiting for Ryan Samsel, but it seems that he can't make it.
Yeah, I noticed he had some Can-Am,
which is probably
problems.
just as well for him. That's a lot of car to handle if he hasn't even got the mod downloaded. It really.
Yeah, it's probably the safest thing, not just for him, but for the rest of the drivers.
That's like playing with a live hand grenade.
Well, possibly. It's difficult to say, really. And I must say, this is probably one of the best camera angles in terms of what we can see of the track. If I can just make it work, there we go. Where we can see the whole opening sector of the track, turn 1, and the keyhole and the back straight. But on to the race. Sorry, we have restarted warm-up due to a slight issue. Looks like Ryan has got it working. So hopefully he'll have a decent race either way. You can see a few of the guys just going out to have a last second quick go with a full tank of fuel, since qualifying is almost an hour long. You sort of need to take a moment to get used to a bit more fuel in the cars, although in most cases the cars get settled a little bit better with more fuel in them.
Yeah, that's the thing about these mods that have realistic physics. Some cars do have a benefit from having a full of tank of fuel, whereas in other cases it's just the opposite. So you see people playing a bit like an accordion all over the race, because sometimes they start very well, but then the car gets lighter, it becomes a handful. And also, of course, the opposite situation.
Indeed. Let's see, I believe we have everyone in now, so yeah. We'll be in the race.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Or something of that effect. So here we are, the grid forming up. Let's put the name tags on so that we can see who's who. So on pole, as you guys mentioned earlier, Yves Placé in the Ferrari. Second on the grid is David Junt in his McLaren. Third, first time out in the shadow, is Grant Ridol. Fourth, first time out in the series, I believe, is Martin Lassina. Fifth, unless I'm entirely mistaken. Yeah, fifth for David Saber, a bit further down than he is usually, but we'll see how he gets on in the race. He's usually pretty strong. Sixth on the grid is Raúl Guerrero, another good qualifying for him. Seventh is Mikael Drexler, a lot further up than he usually is in this series, so that's nice to see. Adam Hackman lies 8th, 9th for Ray Ridol, and 10th for Jason Whitehead. It's nice to see him up in the top 10 in qualifying. 11th is Jukka Martinen, 12th is Gerard Rion, 13th for Mick Chapman, and 14th for Gabriel Sturr. 15th for Dana Schurer in the Auto Coast, and 16th for Pascal Mikola, who I believe is making his debut in the series, is he?
Yeah, I think so. He has been without internet for some time, and now he has been able to finally come back. In any case, watch out for the top 5, because we have 5 very, very good drivers there at the top now, with very competitive cars, and this will be, I hope they all get through the first corner safely, because, well, those drivers are sure going to provide the greatest spectacle.
Indeed. Brian Janik lines up 17th, you have Porsche 18th, 19th for Jan Kowalski in his one-off drive for Porsche, 20th is Steve Parker, a bit further down in qualifying than he usually is, 21st for Pascal Kalida, 22nd for Dave Miller, I believe, 23rd for Timo Vermeersch, 24th for Marazzi, 25th Dauge, 26th Fitch, 27th Bruno Chacon, and rounding out the grid is Ryan Samsel as we are coming around to the start-finish line. Let's see, we're across the finish line, and the race is underway. The race is green, and David Junt has jumped to the front of the field, and Grant Ridol is trying to look up the inside of Yves Placé and take advantage of that. He does, he's up to second. And into the chicane we go. Let's hope everyone survives. Looks like it so far. No major casualties as of yet by the looks of things.
Very clean start here.
Oh, David just lost it coming out of the keyhole.
What was
Oh,
that?
there he is. Oh, dearie me. Oh, wow, he lost a lot of positions with that. That's really unfortunate. Let's see if we can get that on the replay. Not really. No, unfortunately not. Went up the inside!
I'm looking at it now, but
Whoa.
it's clearly a case of too optimistic with the gas.
Yes, it was just a big lazy slide to the infield.
Dave Miller
I'm
tried
sure
it.
he was just getting ready to say that Grant behind him with the big Chevy in that shadow was probably going to eat his lunch for him going down the back straight the first time, and I think David was thinking the same thing.
But David makes
So
quick
Grant
work.
Riddle in the lead now. Grant Riddle in the lead, and he's already trying to open the gap with Yves Placet. David Saber is there in third. And here in the straight is where we are going to see what the McLaren time machine can do. Because it will certainly compress time and space as soon as David is on the loud pedal.
Indeed, but we can see from the back of Grant's car that Yves is really quick in the chicane.
It's a very agile car, it's smaller than the other cars and I think nimbler, but it lacks a bit of power. There you can see what happens in the straight. David Saber gets a bit closer. But in this twisty section, it's very likely that Yves is going to get some of that lost time back. So Grant is certainly not holding anything. In his usual style, he's racing there completely flat out.
Oh, and we have a spinner back here, number 88. Is Steve Parker, unfortunately, so he may have a bit of a lack of practice for this event. And here comes Ryan Samsel taking it nice and easy on his debut in the series.
Yes, in this twisty section, certainly Yves was able to get closer to Grant Riddle. But it is unlikely that he will be able to stick there in the quickest run.
Stainer runs wide in turn 1 as well. We can see at the start of the straight, here comes Steve, makes quick work of one of the M6s. I couldn't quite see who that was. But now it looks like Yves overall is a little bit quicker than Grant though.
Martin Lacina is putting some pressure there on Raul Jareb. Martin, who is one of the quickest drivers here in the series, in our league, and he finally got his hands on a car that he can achieve some pretty good results with it.
Indeed, and he's proving that, sitting in, I believe, 6th at the moment.
Ryan Samsel gave it an effort, but he is withdrawn now.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
The big 7 McLaren. I checked on him a few laps ago, and he was not on pace. He was still getting the feel for the car, and like we discussed earlier, it wasn't going to be worth his time to stick around with it. So good for him in the fact. He got out of. He's not interfering with anybody, and discretion is the better part of valor.
Indeed, and he now has
at the back. Meanwhile at the back is Juha Boss putting some pressure on Pascal Mikula. That's his welcome back to the league.
Quite so, here we are. And he now found...
Mick Chapman, Dana Shura and Adam Hackman are also having their three-way battle.
And Juha looking up the inside. Pascal very late on the brakes. Holds on for now.
Of Pascal and Juha, gentlemen, I have to ask, which do you think is going faster, their cars or their tongues?
Janko Watts is joining the party.
Yuka Mattinen is spun just before Thunder Valley. As you'll see,
here we are.
Coming through there. He's staying off, waiting for a gap wisely.
Yep. We did. Oh yeah. Owen Gerard was very close to hitting him as well when he went off.
Steve Parker just spun. He's no accident. He's going back to track, but he doesn't seem to be comfortable at all today.
In that same corner, that's definitely
Christian
a tricky
Dauer
spot
is
on the
there,
track.
stopped at the side of the track. Wonder what happened to him.
Oh, he lost it at the bottom of the crest, but it took him to the top before he actually lost the car completely. I believe he may have nudged the curve a little bit, just like Jukka did earlier, and settled the car, and that's why he was sideways and then lost it at the top of the hill.
Yeah, he's quit, finally. So at the head of the race, things are as they were some time before. It's just Yves Placé getting closer to Grant Riddle and putting some pressure on him. But the biggest battles are now on the backside.
Well, the field is spreading out a little bit here, but we can see that David Juntas made quick work and is up into 8th spot already.
Juha Boss can get around Pascal Mikula, and the people behind him are getting also very impatient. Jan Kowalski is certainly not willing to stay there for a long time, and neither is Brian Janik.
Well, I believe the quad. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the problem Jan's having is he's very fast in the corners, but he doesn't have the power on the straights to complete the move.
And the same technically can be said for Brian, but I believe the calmest driver out of these 3 is probably Brian. Simply because...
Pascal may not be the quickest driver, but he certainly knows how to make a car very wide.
Very much so, and I believe his and Juha's car is pretty equally matched as well. Juha running a little bit wide, but so does Jan.
It's always so hard to overtake a car that is of the same spec as yours.
Indeed, and it looks like Pascal is very good off the keyhole as well. Which is turn...
Jonatan has quit also.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Always Juha runs very wide. But Jan, around outside. Can he actually make that? He does! What a move!
That's the grip. That's the grip of that Porsche coming to play. That was very opportunistic to pull that off, but he did.
Well, that was very impressive indeed.
That gives a bit of breathing room for Pascal Mikula, but it won't last very long.
I think he'll have Jan on up his gearbox by the end of the carousel.
And now he's going to get pressure from spots that he wasn't used to defending, so that'll be the interesting test.
Very much so, and we can hear how...
Hang on, we have a race forming.
Close.
Grant just dirt tracked it out of the keyhole, and Yves is upon him at the braking point.
Very close, but Grant was able to hold on for now, by the looks of things.
Grant had the car very, very sideways at the top of the straightaway, and Yves pounced.
We can see, Martin Lassine is actually up into third spot, so he's gotten by
he
Raoul.
managed to overtake Raoul Jareb, yes, some time ago.
But the gap is massive from Placé back to Martin, but I wouldn't put it past Martin if Yves and Grant squabble a little bit, but he will be able to get by. Catch up.
And despite all incidents, David Jant is up to 7th and only 14 seconds behind the head of the race, which is quite remarkable.
Indeed, and he's putting
pressure on Michael Dressler for 6th position.
Indeed, he does, and Drexler makes a mistake. That's all it takes, one small mistake.
We're going to have to change David Jones' nickname from the Super Soup to the Elevator, because it's incredible the way he's climbing through the field.
Quite.
Some kind of incident on the back half in the S's there, Martinelli.
Oh, you have Bosa spun as well onto the start-finish straight. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, no, I can't unfortunately find that incident you mentioned by the looks of things.
Marazi, I'm sorry.
Oh, Pascal Mikula. Now he was too optimistic on the gas. The car got too sideways, he lost the traction, and Kowalski was able to get in front.
When the last of the late braces, Pascal is very, very late on the brakes. He'll run too wide, I think. Oh no, he actually stayed on the track. Wow.
But Jan saw it coming. It was clear to him that Pascal was going to miss the braking point and go too deep into the corner. He was waiting for that.
That's very true, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jan is able to pull away a little bit in this upcoming lap, but it'll be interesting if to see if Brian can possibly get on top of Pascal as well.
Very different lines through the corner for Pascal and Jan.
Well, I'd say that's down to the differences in the cars, because I believe Jan's Porsche is both a little bit lighter and has a bit more downforce in the front than Pascal's car has.
Yeah, it's very likely that Pascal's car does understeer a bit more, and that forces him to enter the corner earlier. Compensate for that. But no matter his best attempts, it's clear that Jan Kowalski is opening a gap and is leaving him behind.
Indeed, and it's looking like the field is quite spread out at this point. Two leaders, then there's a big gap to Martin Lassina in Ray, Rideau, and then Rio, I believe, is rounding out the top 10 at the moment.
Sabre had a little spin in turn 1.
Oh, really? Wow.
He's lost a couple spots, unfortunately, but he's got it back going.
That's unfortunate, but with his power, I wouldn't put it past him to quickly get by Ray here.
Is in the lead. Yves is in the lead now. He has been able to pass Grant Riddle, maybe.
Grant is off the track.
Yeah, he's off the track. That's what happened there.
Wow.
It's in the reply now.
Yeah, he missed the brakes at the end of the long straightaway.
Whoa!
Yeah, he probably got distracted with the lapped cars and...
Yeah, it looks like Marazzi broke pretty early, and
Heavily.
yeah, Grant in full race mode didn't quite expect that, and that caught him out. So that's Yves up into the lead, and Martin Lassina in a one-off is up to second. We had another spinner, I believe that was
the head of the race. I don't think unless Yves makes an error that he will be able to catch up again, but I don't think that Martin Lassina is a safe...
Oh!
I believe that was
again with Filippo Marazzi.
Was there a little payback in that maneuver?
Possibly. I'm having a bit of internet broadcasting issues, but it looks like it's solved again. Apologies for that.
No, I don't think there's anything intentional about that. That's just a car coming, not even trying to make the corner look. I'm not even sure.
Very big speed differential going there into the...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Filippo's looks like he slowed down for crawl compared to what Grant was expecting, so...
Yeah, well, you can enter very quickly in those S's. So it's unlikely that he was expecting that.
Yeah. Well, it's...
Yeah, it seemed to be slower than what you would expect for that car on a normal lap. So it seemed like something was off, that it was below speed.
Question now is if Grant, if the Shadow has suffered damage from that or not. Apparently the bodywork is perfect, but...
We have Raul in the pits. He has gone a lap down. Oh, take that back. Must be just a gap in the scoring.
Yeah, he's still in fourth position.
Well, what we do have a bit further back in the field, I believe 17th, 16th is Brian Yannick and Mick Chapman. Chapman driving the BRM, and looks like he's starting to get to grips with the handling of the car.
It's actually a much closer battle. This Jason Whitehead versus Gerard Rion.
I didn't notice they were...
Whitehead is trying to find a way past. But here in the straight, the very powerful Lola won't allow him to do that.
It's one of those situations just just like for Jan in the Porsche, where Jan was lost a lot quicker in the corners. Looks like it's the same for Whited here.
My God, Gerard Rion is completely sideways all the time. Doesn't seem to be really comfortable today with the car.
We have a car a little bit wide up ahead. I believe that's Drexler has made a mistake. Possibly lost the position.
Though it's nice to see, even if for a change, Gerard Rion's car without damage.
Quite. He's been involved in many of the incidents.
Grant
Last
just
races, he has suffered a lot from that.
yes. Grant just spun it again coming out of turn 1. That is a very deceptive corner right there.
He did that a couple of times in practice and qualifying as well, pushing a bit too. Oh, yep, pushing just a little bit too hard. But a nice, very nice recovery though.
The easiest car to manage either. It's very squirrely.
Indeed. Let's see, back to the battle. It looks like Rion is putting a move on Drexler. The end of the straight. Breaks up the inside, gets very, very sideways. But it looks like he got the move done. He just about stays on the track in the following left-hander.
And with that move being for position, he also was able to kill two birds with the same shot, because he put someone in front of Jason Whited now that will be in this very twisty zone hampering him, as we are seeing.
Indeed. It's really nice to see Mikael up this far up the field, because he's another driver who's had a lot of small things hinder him. Well, small, but for example at Road Atlanta he ended up on the wrong side of the barriers, and unfortunately there were no access roads from there to the track. And of course he was involved in the Watkins Glen big incident on end of lap 1 there, and I believe he also got involved in in one of the incidents at Saint Jovite. When here is a move on for Jason Whited. Looks like he wants to make quick work of Drexler, but Drexler really late on the brakes, holds on for at least another few corners here. And incredibly, despite spinning on the lap 1 and dropping to the low 20s in the field, David Junt is up into podium playing position.
And only 11 seconds behind the leader now, which, if you remember, was 14 last time we called it. With still many laps to go, 66, it seems as if he might even have time to catch up with the head of the race if he continues at this pace. Last lap he has done in 1:23.4, whereas Yves Placé is doing 1:24, height 1:24. So yeah, at this rate, in 10 laps he should have Yves in sight, in his crosshair.
Well, has Yves slowed down any?
He's on traffic right now.
Okay. But I mean, could he perhaps be backing off a little bit? Because I just checked back in on Grant, and it looks to me like he has just absolutely fried the tires off that shadow.
Well, it's definitely a possibility.
Could be tire pressures too. If you set them too high to start, and it go off
That's
the longer
true.
you run them.
Martin is gaining a little bit on Yves at this point, but looking at the gaps, but still cannot tell whether...
Grant is, speaking of Grant, he is now trying to put some pressure on Raul Gerard. But as you said, Scott, he certainly has fried his tires. The car is moving a lot and following weird trajectories. It clearly showed that Grant isn't able to make it go exactly where he wants.
That's possibly down to Was he shortcuts the chicane a little bit? That's probably down to him not having driven the car that much yet, in terms of a racing situation.
And it's so different from the car he was just driving. That Porsche, you had to really push it in the corners to make up for its deficiencies on the straightaways, whereas this car's virtually the opposite. Its benefit is the straightaways, and its handicaps the corners, and it looks like he's just trying to get more out of it than the car is able to give in terms of grip in the corners.
Very good point.
Who was David Sabre, I believe, has had another spin or half spin, possibly. He was very slow. Yep, he had another half spin. He had another spin. Looks like it's not just Ryan Sampson struggling with the big Chevrolet engine in the back of those works McLarens.
I will say that all the big and Gerard as well, and we've been talking about Grant's troubles. The higher powered cars here are, I don't think they have the advantage that the others have. Hence the Ferrari out front and Martin and David and Rahul coming along, finishing out the top four.
Definitely so, but one of the very big engine cars that's actually running quite well, considering how it's been looking earlier in the season, is Dana Schurer in the Autocoast, who's up into the top 10 in 9th, which is great to see.
Yeah, and in front of her are Jason Whited and Michael Drexler, and Whited hasn't been able yet to find a way past Michael. They're both riding in the same car, and despite some slight errors by Michael, who is suffering under that pressure, Whited hasn't been able to capitalize on those yet. Probably because in most instances what happened is that Drexler put the car sideways and that effectively blocked the road for Whited.
Oh no, we've had an engine let go. Steve Parker, it seems.
Oh no, not again.
Well, yeah, this is not the first time.
It would seem like it. Oh, he was sideways over the crest, and that's where he blew it. Could he possibly have missed a gear down there?
Definitely saw the red light on when the moment occurred, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh, Grant Riddle just overtook Filippo Marazzi for the third time. Well, this time it was certainly safely. But towards the end of the race, I think
and Grant just tried to outbrake Rahul and slid off the end of the long straightaway again.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be very concentrated today. Fortunately, he hasn't hit anything.
Ooh, he was actually on the grass.
Yes, Rahul pushed him out to the grass, didn't he?
I'm not sure if he pushed him out, but Grant definitely was on the grass.
Unintentionally. Rahul was
there was
setting
less
up...
than a car width between the grass and where his car was,
Yes,
unfortunately.
I think Rahul didn't know he was coming. Anyway, he was setting up for turn 7 and was swinging wide to make the entrance, and Grant was beside him, and to stay off of him, he had to put the lefts in the grass, and that's precisely how the car spun.
Oh, it seems that finally Whited was able to pass Michael Drexler.
Well, not yet.
Now,
Not yet. Oh! He held on.
Wow.
That's probably the most unorthodox way to hold on to position I've seen in quite a while. And big kudos to Whited as well to hold on to his car. Oh, yes, behind him someone spins. I believe that was Pascal Khalid, who's making, I believe, his debut in the series. Struggling a little bit with his car by the looks of things. But unfortunately, it looks like most of the field is fairly spread out.
Well, Adam Hackman is also catching up with Gabriel's turn. And yeah, Pascal Khalide is hampering a bit Gabriel, and Adam Hackman is being able to get into Gabriel's tail.
Owen trying the undercut now to finally get by. Looks like he will be passed going to the carousel. And he stays to the inside to let Hackman go. Nicely done.
Drexler stretched a little bit, but he's coming up on Marazzi. That might bring Jason Whited back into the fight.
Possibly.
He moved well away, and Whited and Drexler were able to get by easily.
Well done.
Did not finish. Raul Jerez, what happened to Raul?
Yes, I just happened to see that.
Looking at the reply now, coming with high speed.
That's a disco if I've ever seen one.
Oh,
Yep, that was.
Oh dear. That's really unfortunate. He was having another great race here. That's what you would categorize as a technical failure in the race, such as a fuel pump or something like that, stopping to work.
So Hackman is now only 0.3 behind Wright Riddle. Gabriel Sturr apparently was able to pass, and now it's Adam Hackman's turn.
Yeah, I believe Ray had a bit of a moment somewhere because he was ahead before. Always sideways, wide and sideways again in the carousel as well. So it looks like he's struggling a little bit with his car. I was going to say Gabriel Sturr was having a subdued race by the looks of things, but it's inside the top 10, so...
Grant's pulling off. Grant is retired.
Really? Wow.
Why so?
Oh, he was behind... He was behind...
He's pulled off.
Lapping. Oh, so probably something broken on the car, because I just saw a wheel on the air, which was very weird.
It says DNF.
Yeah. No
Maybe he had a problem with
suspension.
his wheel or pedals or something. The way he was swerving the side to side, I'm not sure if he was testing something there.
Looking at the forum, it seems that this was the case for Christian Doger. He said that all of a sudden his wheel continued working, but no clutch, no brake, no accelerator, no anything. So the pedals are broken.
That's very unfortunate.
And at the top of the race, things are exactly the same. I mean, David John was able to climb there up to third position, 8 seconds from the lead and 5 seconds from Martin Lacina, but that's exactly how they have been from the last 10 laps.
Looks like the closest battle for now would be between Whited and Drexler, by the looks of things, and of course between Hackman and Riddle,
yes.
and Dana starting to catch up to them as well.
Looking at the lap times, Eves has turned it back up. He's running 23s at this point. Martin had narrowed it down to a 3.1 second gap, and Eves has turned the whip back up, or the car is coming to him.
I wouldn't put it past his tires also being a bit overheated after trying to keep up with the ground early on in the race, and that's why he was running slightly slower laps.
And here we have some explanation of what happened to Grant. He said pace laps, his force feedback decided not to work, couldn't control the car without it, so decided for a safety to pull over. So that's what happened to him.
Wow.
Another victim of the force feedback.
Yeah, Yes, but he was running he ran 20 laps plus with no force feedback.
In that car
Impressive.
especially.
Yes, impressive.
Come on, you can drive with no force feedback.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, if you're used to 100% force feedback and suddenly having
Yeah,
none,
that's
it's a bit big of a change.
I mean, it's obviously that well, you can drive without force feedback in the wheel, and many of the quickest drivers actually have it toned down very subtle effects. But obviously, such a radical change from what you've been practicing with, as losing it completely, well, that's a killer, absolutely.
Indeed. For those of you who don't do sim racing but still watching racing or driving in real life, you could compare that to having a car having no power steering and then suddenly having power steering in terms of how it would feel in the wheel. In terms of going from 100% force feedback to none. But looking as the race is somewhat settled down, let's have a look at the trivia question for this event. Fine. There is the question. So the question for this event is: who won the Buckeye Can-Am held at Mid-Ohio on August 17th, 1969? That would be 2 years before this event in real life. Was it A, Bruce McLaren, B, Denny Hull, or C, Chris Amon? Any immediate thoughts from you guys? Otherwise we'll come back to this at a later point.
Ooh. I have to think on that one.
Well, I'd say Denny Hulme, just to say something.
What was the second choice?
A, Bruce McLaren, B, Denny Hulme, C, Chris Amon. So if you want to write them down, you can do that so that you can have a think about it, but let's get back to the action on track, because lappings are going on and it looked a little bit frantic for a moment or two for Yves Placé right here, who lapped both Chapman and Yannick in the keyhole, and now is trying to get by Pascal Mikola. Just now manages to do so, and that bunches up the group behind. Oh, that looked a bit close.
Yes, we have a blanket over those three. 13th, 14th, and 15th. And Brian Janik is pushing.
And now it's Martin Lacina who is coming up to this group, and well, this is one of the most disturbing things that can happen to you when you're racing. I mean, you're in the middle of your battle, and then all of a sudden you have the blue flag and you have to let someone by.
Yes, and that even looked a little bit scary, because Brian decided to let him by in the carousel, and he almost ended up rear-ending Chapman's BRM because he was wanting to run wide, where Chapman ran wide because he was pushing. Let's see if... Yep, there goes Pascal letting Lacina by. Lacina runs very wide, that will hold up everyone behind.
Not for long.
Not with that engine in the car.
Now, let's see if Mick Chapman can have the run on.
Whoa! When that came David Yunt out of nowhere, got by Yannick. Good God, the speed difference in a straight line.
Well, he was 5 seconds behind Lacina, and now, thanks to the traffic here, he has been.
Chapman let off too much. Yannick is through. Very opportunistic move
And
by
Janik
Yannick.
is through.
Yep, very opportunistic and good driving there.
No, we got a car that's way off pace, trying to let people. That's
I believe
unsafe.
that's Marazzi. He had a spin at Thunder Valley. That's why he was very slow on the straight.
He was getting back to the track.
Ah.
See Pascal now with Brian Yannick behind him. And Yannick doing a fantastic job in that McLaren. Very little in terms of downforce in that car, but is keeping up with two of the cars that has at least more downforce than he has.
With all this traffic, it's only 2 seconds now behind David Jonatan and Martin Lasina. I'm sure Martin is not a happy man right now.
Well, lapping is one of the bits of driving a fast car, and that also distinguishes between very good drivers and good drivers. In terms of being able to manage the lap traffic well, and David Junt of course does quite a bit of endurance racing when he isn't racing at HSO, so he has a bit of practice both letting by and being let by slower cars. Which technically also was proven in HSO itself when him and me managed to win the Mugello 1000k race last year. Although of course we were in probably the best car for that track in terms of the Lancia LC1, but he still proved to be quite a good driver. As Pascal runs wide and chicane, Brian gets right up his gearbox here. Trying to stay
closing in if he can stay in the draft.
Oh, he's really close. He's actually on beside him here. Oh, but the straight line speed is very different. But oh, Pascal missed a gear. I believe Pascal must have missed a gear there. And still Brian can't quite make his way up there. Oh, really close at the apex of turn 7. The flicks we go. Yannick runs a little bit too far to the right, I think, loses a bit of time. Yep, and that's Chapman right up behind him again.
And Junt is closing in on Martin Lasina at a very quick rate.
And we have another oh no! Dana Shura's out of the race. Whatever happened here?
He just came into the pits. I don't see anything wrong.
I noticed there were a couple spins the last couple laps, so maybe that's just getting out of the way. I'm not sure.
Possibly. But that's very unfortunate either way. She was having a very good race up until that point. Let's see. Okay, right, Alberto. David is really close to Martin now.
Janik's gotten by Pascal. Here comes Mick.
Let's get back to that. But let's see if we can find out where we must have done that towards the back end of the lap. It'll be interesting to see. O'Brien really sideways manages to hold on. Oh no, Mick's spinning though. Hit the curb and settled the car a little bit. And here comes Juha Boos, possibly for position. It is.
Yeah, Brian got Pascal going through. I think Pascal moved aside going through turn 1 and let him have it. Of course, he had been holding.
Brian just got a better drive off that last corner and got alongside of him, it looked like, and had the right position on the inside going into turn 1 and took it.
And David Junt is already putting pressure on Martin Lasina.
Let's get back up there because I noticed, sorry, that they had a bit of lap traffic that lap, so
let's see if the slipstream works here in the straight. So I think Martin got a really good
David putting
exit.
Yeah, and David putting himself in the mirror of Martin there, trying to unsettle them in the break towards the braking zone.
Well, Martin Lacina is probably one of the latest breakers here in the league. I mean, it's incredible the distance at which he throws the anchor, because I've seen many people, even if they are quick, break something like 20 yards before him, even the quickest guys. So it's certainly not going to be easy for David Jan to pass him, not on the brakes at least.
Well, some drivers do have a... Oh, he runs wide into Timo. Makes side-by-side contact. Timo getting out of the way on the wide side, and
yeah,
Martin
David
possibly feeling the pressure a little bit with that incident happening. Well, Martin again did a small mistake in the chicane this time. Loses another bit of time.
This is also his first race in this car.
Oh, it is indeed, so maybe the tires are starting to get to him in terms of how they wear, because certainly the tire wear should be different in a different car to what he's been driving previously. So far he's doing an excellent job sitting in second in this race. When we have that on screen, since we haven't really followed the rest of the field, I'll quickly let you all find your favorite drivers if they haven't been on screen that much. It's nice to see Jaques and Fitch is still running, although last of the running cars at the moment, but getting laps and getting track time is vitally important in terms when you switch to another car.
And believe it or not, we're only 32 laps into the race. We're not even half race.
Wow.
I'm getting tired of watching this.
I was going to say, can you believe it? We're already almost halfway.
This is going to be a long, long race for many people.
Indeed, especially those already possibly struggling with their tires. Or those who have been in long battles, such as Pascal, Brian, and
David Junt, who has had to climb up the whole
Oh no! Oh!
Well, he saved it, but he lost the possession there. Good reflexes by Martin Lacina, but it's unfortunate that he was an innocent victim of that spin.
And that was unfortunately Jason Fitch, who I jinxed by saying that. But no contact was made, so that's at least something positive from that. Only a little bit of lost time, but it is what it is. It's difficult to have any kind of incident happen and not lose time. So it was probably only a handful of laps until David would have been trying to get by Martin either way. So
yeah, but it's a real pity, because getting to Martin is one thing and overtaking him is a very different one. We could have seen a very nice fight, because it could not have been easy at all to do that.
Indeed. But he's trying, we can see here his braking.
It's not over yet, I mean, he's not losing any distance to David.
And we could see that his braking prowess was very obvious for us all to see, I think. Although of course right here it looks like Junt's car is a little bit quicker, possibly down to the extra downforce he has. Oh, but he was very close to losing it there.
Ooh! David Sabre and Pascal get together at the end of the long straightaway.
Oh, that's a big spin there. Oh.
Sabre tries to miss. Mick Chapman gets crossed up trying to miss Sabre. Got through, but he had to come to a stop to do it.
So let's see what happened there. Oh,
Ooh.
Pascal rear-ended Brian Janik.
Oh no.
That's what happened. And oof.
Good God. That was a real series of events. Don't believe there were any contact for anyone, but unfortunately for Brian Yannick, he took the worst of that and dropped 4 or 5 positions, I think. He was doing a great job up until that point.
Jason Whited had fallen behind Adam Hackman, but he's trying to recover that position now.
Possibly, probably a mistake somewhere then, if he dropped. Because I believe he was behind Drexler, so he has lost 2 positions somewhere.
Go, but now there's Ryan Riddle and Adam Hackman between them.
So something must have happened somewhere around the track to him, but still inside the top 10 and still in with a good shot at least top 6, if not a top 5 finish. When we have Jan Kowalski having a bit of having a spin in Thunder Valley.
Yeah, Bruno had a small spin at turn 1.
I think it's only a matter of time that we're going to see a battle at the front.
Getting close, isn't it?
Granted, there's some traffic discrepancies, but
Oh, not just a bit of traffic, there's a lot of traffic, at least for Martin Arsina. Oh, and we had someone span in front of them, 23, I believe that's Jason Fitch again, trying to make way.
No, it was Gabriel Ster.
Oh, sorry, Gabriel Stur, wow, okay.
Good racer him so far.
When Rio has had a bit of a spin as well, down at the end of the back straight. Ooh. Looked a little bit scary, but looks like it worked out. Probably Gerard was a
another spin there behind Gerard Rio. Who was that?
Well, that was 41.
Gerard goes sideways over the crest. Back there at the end of the rhythm section going into Thunder Valley. Oop, Martin's off a little.
Yeah, cars are getting light, tires are worn. So get ready for some interesting ballet examples here.
Indeed, and Martin lost a lot of time with all that going on. Oh no, Mikael Drexler's off the track. Smoke trailing. Is that another engine? It sounds like it. There's no engine sounds
like
whatsoever. Yeah, looks like...
Ooh, yep, down the long straightaway.
So
Clearly
White
me.
finally has passed Adam Hackman.
That means he's up into...
No, but Adam's not giving up. Let's see.
That means he's up into 6th and Ray Redard is up into 5th. That would be a nice finish for Ray, I'm sure. That's very unfortunate for Mikael. He was having a great race up until that engine.
David
David
on
Jant
the
is
upfield.
already
Inspiring.
only 2. David Jant is only 2.3 seconds, barely 2 seconds now behind East Place.
he's been catching almost a second a lap. Like, some of that's been due to traffic, but that's a pretty consistent average.
Yeah.
Now, fastest laps comparison, Yves is right there. So if he's backing off, or maybe DJ's really hanging it out right now, but he's definitely closing in consistently.
Yeah, it must have been traffic. That Yves must have had bad luck with traffic or whatever, because
Well,
otherwise they're lapping in similar times.
I'm not so sure. It was a lot. David was a lot quicker in the chicane right there.
Yeah, no, what I was saying is, like, his fastest lap is very much the same, but Yves doesn't seem to be pushing that pace the whole time like DJ is right now. DJ is very close to his fastest lap, whereas Yves is backed off from that.
Indeed, and we have a bit of lap traffic coming up as well. Looks like Adam Hackman is one of the cars.
Jason Fitches will be first, it seems.
So this will be interesting to see what happens here. Whereas Fitch runs a little bit wide, going up to Thunder Valley. Keeps it on the track nice and calmly. Gets out of the way very nicely indeed.
Yeah, he puts that lap car there, which is very good maneuver. This is probably going to be one of David Jones' best drives. I mean, not just for coming back, but just look at how he's driving. He's constantly hitting the apexes and he's placing the car wherever he wants, and that's very telling how comfortable he is today with the car.
Well, he was complaining earlier.
Yeah, you can tell that from the way he's driving.
Especially in the chicane here, he looks very, very strong indeed.
I wonder where he got his setup from.
Probably where half the field got their setup from, considering you're very helpful.
Bootlegged it from Canada.
Possibly.
That's within a second now, so now we got a purely visual, well, not that it wasn't visual before, but it's within striking distance.
Oh, he's much closer.
Oh, Martin Lacina to spun. That's too bad for him, because he won't be now able to capitalize from anything that might happen if the fight in the lead goes wrong.
He'll still be able to hold on to his position, it seems, but yes, it gives them some cushion to work with, the front two.
I'd probably put that down to the tire wear, considering it's a new car for him. He of course has been driving it quite hard, being up in second position for most of the race, so probably just getting caught out by that at the moment. Let's see, a new lap. The best and the strongest part for David's car is right up here. Let's see how close he can get this time round. Who is only a couple of feet, 3 feet maybe, from the rear end of Eves here. If Eves doesn't pick up the pace, he may be very liable to lose the position either here or next lap.
Coming up on Jason White, and we'll see. Oh, braking move.
Oh, and Eves lets him by.
He was established on the inside of the corner.
It definitely could have been fought harder, but I think that was a smart play by Eves. He knew fighting there might just be delaying things and make it more sticky than it needs to be, so still half race to go.
Well, true enough, but still, that seemed a little bit over-exaggerated in terms of letting someone by, but... Oh well, I was hoping for a bit of a battle there. Oh, it started just very sideways, like that's Bruno possibly. No, it's Jason Whited. So he's dropped a bit of time again, by the looks of things.
Only 5 cars left on the lead lap. That's the pace that's being set at the front.
Wow. That's very impressive indeed. Well, it looks like Gabriel Sturris got him by Gerard Rion as well. Rion has another spin in turn 1. Climbed over the curb and the car hooked up.
Struggling today.
Yeah, well, he has one of the more difficult cars to drive as well. So that could be one of the reasons. But it looks like Adam Hackman is... No, sorry, that's Dave Miller in the other green McLaren. Now pretty close behind the Porsche of Timo Vermeersch. Obviously with 2 lapped cars between them, but they are fairly close on track.
How about Ray Riddall? Have we talked about him today? Running 5th, all by himself. Seems to be putting in constant laps and benefiting from it. Top 5.
I've been watching him occasionally, and he's just about to go a lap down, but he is soldiering on, like you said, very, very, very consistent.
Well, that's another trademark of
Nice quiet
A
race,
good
but gets a
driver.
good result from it. Yep.
It's one of those where they say
Dave Miller is now on Timo Vermeer's tail. I don't know if that's for position or if he's a lap down, but I think it's for position.
we'll have a
actually.
quick look. Yep, they're on the same lap, so it's for position. Of course, what they say in real life is that if you don't have a car to fight for the lead, you drive it consistently to try and get the best result you can out of the event instead.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that race car is badly set up, but it's probably not the quickest car on this track, but consistency, as David said, pays off. Ooh, as
David Jaques has already put 2 seconds on his place, almost.
wow. As Timo had a bit of a moment, but Johan Boers coming up the lap. David Miller stops any opportunity Miller had to get by Timo here, but there may come another opportunity in half a lap or so when Johan will want to get by Timo.
Yeah, that's the really bad thing when you get lapped by those cars that are not the top of the race and the quickest, is that you get lapped but you stay there being lapped for a lot of time. They don't get away as quickly. They catch up with you, but they lap you, but they don't get away. That's a nasty situation because Dave obviously wants to fight with Timo Vermeer's fourth position, and all those cars there that are not going that much quicker than them are just hampering the fight.
Indeed, and I just found out through Jason White, Jason White, ooh,
Car in opposite direction, that was Pascal Khalide.
I just found out through Jason White, thank you very much, that Dave Miller's girlfriend is actually watching the stream right now. And, hello! Hopefully you'll enjoy watching Dave in a bit of a fight here. As Timo makes another mistake. Dave gets ever closer. Let's see if he can put a move on. He has more power, but it
Motivates himself.
possibly. Looks like I haven't. Looks like I have another bit of internet issues. My apologies. Hopefully they'll sort themselves out.
Oh, Gerard is now out.
Well, that's unfortunate, but we saw him struggling a lot
Yes.
in the last 10 or so laps, so
Quite an exciting first half of the race. I need to depart, unfortunately. Everybody else enjoy, and it's been a pleasure.
thank you very much for joining us, and hope you enjoy watching back the second half.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to it.
Cheers.
User disconnected from the channel.
Okay, so looks like Timo is holding on at the moment. He looks a bit quicker in the back end of the track, but of course Dave has a bit more power in his McLaren. I believe he's in a McLaren anyway.
Yeah, that's an M8E, I believe.
Quite a new McLaren as well. Of course we have, I believe that's David Jund coming up to lap them. But if Dave can make use of the draft from David's car, he could possibly make a move down here and with the straight.
Far away. Too far away.
But it proves the difference in engine power. He gets right up behind Timo towards the end of the straight.
Oh. I don't know precisely what Chevy engine Dave Miller has in that car, but it's at least 7 liters. Timo's working with 5 liters.
That's quite a difference.
It is. It is. It's a bit difference in engines and in beer. So yeah. Oh, there comes his place. Now, you see what I was talking about? I mean, if just comes and in a moment he goes away, But when you get other cars that are taking more time to lap, it's so disgusting because you lose concentration.
Indeed. And of course also, although it may be more towards Timo than Dave in this case, you also, with the car in front of you, you lose a little bit of that downforce you have in the front of your car, especially in the faster corners.
Dave was very quickly again on Timo's tail, so maybe it's just that doing the last bit on passing that is eluding him, but he certainly seems to have a bit more pace.
It looks like he is a little bit careful on putting in the power on in his Chevrolet powered car, while Timo, of course, with a lesser power in the 5-litre Porsche, can be a bit more abrupt with the power and get a bit more effect early on the straight.
Yes, it's much easier to put the power down in that Porsche just because it's not overpowering the rear wheels.
Yeah,
Yes.
excessive power is sometimes a mixed blessing. We also saw that in the 37 cars. Remember the
Yes.
this year, and well, with those cars it was really nasty because you got the Mercedes-Benz with the big engine with 600 horsepower and those bicycle wheels, and,
Yes.
and you basically could do wheel spin on any gear anytime, almost near top speed. So the Alfa Romeos that had about almost 150 horsepower less than that, and they were getting actually quicker because they were easier to drive.
That of course was an event that wasn't broadcasted, I don't think, but it was an event to behold. Unfortunately, none of our broadcasters was available for that, but it was a sight to behold, to say the least.
Well, and here is it's happening again. Dave Miller's problem with getting past Timo is Dave is being very, very courteous to the lapping cars, and every time he gets close to Timo to set him up for a pass, then he has to move over and let one of the leaders by.
That's very frustrating.
Oh, Timo very wide in Panda Valley though. Could set up for an opportunity on this upcoming lap for Dave.
Yes, but then here comes Adam Hackman and Brian Janek behind him.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, keep it off the wall.
Randy.
Yep, he does. Nice recovery. Keeping it off the wall is well enough when that happens. That's unfortunate. That's why they, in other series, they usually say keep to your line and let the lappers find a way past.
Yes.
But then again, actually Brian Janek has dropped quite a bit of time, and Timo is right behind him now. So that's another battle we can watch for a little bit.
No, but Timo is one more lap down. Brian Janek. It's not focused.
My apologies. I got excited for nothing. But we have a battle right here.
Juha Boss are fighting for position. They are in front of them, and they're there, and Pascal is putting some pressure on Juha Boss. It's likely his birthday present.
Quite. Oh, we haven't told everyone. Juha Boss actually celebrates his 31st birthday today. Where's Pascal? Oh, a bit of
Pascal, hang on to it.
very small nudge to the rear end of Juha. Almost tried to sneak it up the inside, but that was very optimistic to try that there. But
Yeah, he's a bit exuberant in his driving today. And he has already Nicolized the other car, Brian Janek, and now he seems to be about to do the same with Juha if he isn't careful enough.
when Juha has a spin,
That wasn't necessary because Juha did it by himself.
that's unfortunate. The way these two have in terms of pace, they'll be very close to each other very soon Anyway, it looks like Jason White has made another mistake because he's quite a bit behind Hackman now. Ray Riddle is actually being caught by Hackman, so Hackman might actually be going very quick at the moment. As Bruno Chacon in the background runs wide in turn 7. As Fitch gets out of the way very nicely there.
It's not difficult to let cars pass you by in this track. There are many opportunities, but it's very easy for the lapping car to be a bit too optimistic and get caught by the camber or the elevation change.
Very true.
We've seen many incidents happen when they were about to lap.
Indeed. It looks like that yellow car could be Jaques possibly, and he's not quite wanting Ray to get by right now, because I think he's very close to...
Catching up. He's catching up with Pascal very quickly.
Which would explain why he doesn't want Ray to get by. Whereas Hackman gets a little bit sideways coming out of the keyhole. Not quite to get the power down as he would have wanted, but up ahead Ray goes up the inside of Juha, going down to turn 7, gets very close between them, but they both survive. Let's see now what happens with Hackman. Looks like he'll go by down here. He does indeed. And soon it'll be Pascal's turn to let these guys by. And Hackman has closed up to Ray again.
Jaques, he has hit the wall.
Oh no.
I saw him in the background while I was following Pascal Mikula.
Oh, and it's down at Thunder Valley again. He was very tight in the first opening right-hander of that, and span off and, as you said, hit the wall. Still running though. But obviously there will be a little bit of damage on his car. But he's rejoined right behind Timo. In the middle of him and...
Yeah, I was about to say that, because Dave Miller is also catching up with Timo Vermeers again.
Yes, as it seemed earlier, Dave is very quick. Is quicker than Timo, but as you said, getting by is a different matter entirely.
Yeah, there he is. He gets his up very quickly, but passing now is a very different story.
Well, Adam Hackman is actually up into 4th position here. He's gotten by Ray Riddle somewhere. So Ray is down to sorry, 6th it is.
David Miller, he looked inside on Timo coming down a long straightaway, but here again as he gets close, David Saber is going to be coming up behind him here shortly.
Oh, and another spinner. Looked like an older car, could have been Fitch possibly.
I think it was Fitch.
But I think both Timo and Dave will be enjoying this. Being this close in a battle, I don't think either of them has been this long of a battle for the whole of this season. And I would also like to make a quick announcement that, ooh, that's David Saber getting by, cutting it a bit close when slotting in front of Dave Miller right there. Team are often quite...
With the story, yeah, with the background story.
Indeed.
It is very interesting to follow.
Which is both interesting and entertaining, as Dave gets very close to
Those are huge
Timo
fun
once
to
again.
read.
So if you go to the forums, you can find links about a week after the event has been ran, where he has posted the race report / diary situation, the previous rounds, both in Can-Am.
David in the
Was
grass,
you have,
well, in the sand.
I believe you have both also ran wide at Thunder Valley once again. But having right in front of these
That
guys.
off-camber turn is terrible.
So
People
you,
are dropping there like flies.
indeed. And of course it isn't easy to drive this track. Just having a quick look. Mikola and Yannick is running quite close to one another once again, so maybe Yannick will want a bit of a revenge on Pascal for the earlier incident. But I'd put it to Yannick to probably pass him and get his revenge that way, finishing ahead of him despite being unfortunately sent wide.
Ooh, Timo blocks. Saber gets them both, so Dave Mellor still he's still right there. So that letting that lapper by didn't hurt him this time.
Ooh. That could also be that Timo wanted to have the inside to let Saber by, but that looked very a slight bit questionable. Mainly because Dave had a bit of an overlap by the looks of things.
But let's just say it was very fortuitous that he changed lanes at that point.
Indeed.
Well, if Timo is doing that for 15th position, then if they were fighting for the win, he would pull out a pistol and shoot at him.
A whole new meaning to drive-by shooting. Well, knowing Timo, it wouldn't be a gun, it would be a champagne bottle with a cork that he fires towards the helmet of Dave in that case, I think. Champagne or wine cork bottle. Or probably something that was found at a very cheap restaurant. Going by his diaries, because he mentions quite expensive and exuberant wines and sometimes champagnes in those diaries. But again, it seems like this is the closest battle on track beside the one that is shaping up between Pascal Mikola and Brian Yannick, as Yannick has a very sideways moment in turn 1 but holds on. That's the one upside to the older McLarens. They are very, very nice and easy to control on the slide.
So, and Dave Miller is again behind Timo Vermeers, third attempt.
Ooh, David Juntas.
They used to say in the third time it works, but let's see.
Indeed, at the front of the field, David Juntas must have made a mistake because he's down to second.
Oh yes, down in the rhythm section before Thunder Valley, he had it off.
Oh dear.
Yes, just caught the curb on the little straightaway.
Well, I don't think Eves will make a pass as easy this time around, considering we're only 26 odd laps from the end of the race. So that's something to keep an eye on later on, but let's jump back to the fight between Timo and Dave, which is still racing and still. Oh, as Timo gets sideways, Dave has a slight opportunity.
Almost happened there. Because I believe if Dave is able to get past, then Timo can wave him goodbye. Because his rhythm is obviously much better.
Indeed, but it's a question of daring to make a move. And of course, Dave, this is his third race on the series, I believe. But one of them were cut a slight bit short.
This could be a good one because he's coming out very close behind him.
We should have an opportunity this time around.
Yeah, he did that to confuse Timo. Look at that. He did it very well. He did it to confuse Timo and fool him into blocking the inside.
Ooh, can he hold it around outside though? Not quite, I don't think. No. Timo holds on for now. That was a nice try from...
That was a very nice chest move.
Indeed. Just unfortunate that Timo was able to counter it by braking early and keeping the inside for turn 7.
I think that Dave Miller will wake up tonight thinking of Timo Berners.
Possibly. Nightmare where the Porsche is constantly in front of him and no matter what he tries, it's still in front of him. When someone has... Oh, that's you, huh? As I thought I'd drop back. But it looks like now Brian Yannick is right behind Pascal Mikkola as well for position right here. Going through turn 8.
If Dave Miller's girlfriend has a deviant streak, she'll want to print out a big picture of the rear end of that Porsche and hang right over his face in bed tonight. When he does wake up, he'll scream. Oh, they got together!
Oh no! Dave is
Same
the
move
one...
as the last lap. Yep, Dave took the worst of it.
And he again tried round outside, got a bit further up. Oh, and Timo missed his braking point a little bit, and that's where the contact was made. Hopefully there isn't any major damage to Dave's car, although it looks like he's going quite slowly right now. Yeah, looks like there's a bit of damage to his car, unfortunately.
Yeah, suspension is bent. I'm afraid that will be the end of this race.
Well, that's really unfortunate. Because that was a great battle to be had. It looks like he'll at least try to get it to the pits and look to get the car repaired, and hopefully this pit crew will be able to make some...
So back to Brian Yannick and Pascal Mikkola, because Pascal is there in a not exactly comfortable position right now. With Brian Yannick looking for revenge and getting back his position.
Brian is certainly wearing him out.
Certainly so.
Two very different cars here. And not exactly in favor of Brian Yannick, whose car has obviously less downforce. It's of an older model. That will be hard to do, passing with that car, because it's not evidently superior to Pascal Mikkola's car, and Pascal is also quite a late breaker, as you can see here.
I may also mention that apparently Timo has one less friend in the world at this very moment. But from what I could see, that the incident that cost Dave Miller was purely a driver mistake. But Dave is still in the pits for repairs, unfortunately. But hopefully, the pit crew will get the car repaired so we can get back into the action.
Well, the nice thing for Dave is he most certainly will make the diary.
Oh, certainly.
And he got a lot of airtime today.
Indeed. We'll see, since there is a bit of
Oh,
time.
he's coming back to the race. That's great.
Oh, and
He's a fighter. He's back on it.
Jan Kowalski's out.
Ooh, Dave Jaques just got Pascal.
Looked like Jan picked up damage, and sorry, you had a pass for Yannick, was it? Yes, it was. Let's have a look.
Nicola made an error there when going to the chicane, and that was it. But he's trying to get the position back. Willing to fight back for it. So Yannick has gone from the frustrating but more comfortable position to the uncomfortable position of being in front.
Somebody better text Pascal and tell him Brian Janik is from Detroit, so he doesn't want to hit him again.
Well, there are worse towns, I suppose. At least back in the day,
Yeah.
Chicago maybe. Looks like Brian.
Very nicely done, Pascal. Let Jason Whited through.
Well, he is in the midst of a battle, so I would probably do more or less the same. That was a bit close though.
I will say, and I've got to add, hats off to Pascal. It seems his time off has mellowed him slightly. He's had a couple incidents today.
Sorry to interrupt you, gentlemen, but David Jones is about to recover the leading position in the race. He's now putting pressure on Luis Placer, and this is for the race win, for first position.
As they go by Dave Miller, having to try and cope with his car. Of course, not completely up to what it was before, but good on him for continuing, as David Jones is right behind Eves, coming off the keyhole. This will be... looks like Eves is indeed not going to make it quite as easy as it did earlier on in the race. Again, I must emphasize that Ferrari engine sounds gorgeous. It definitely looks like Eves has turned up the wick a little bit. He's going quite quickly in parts of the track.
His position back from Brian Janik, by the way.
Interesting.
Must have been some kind of driving error because Brian was quite behind right now.
It would seem like it.
So let's see what David can come up with to make the pass.
Well, again, we can see he's really quick in this chicane. It's right up behind Eves. Couldn't have gotten that much closer at the apex. It looks like Eves gets the power down quite nicely. Could he have a try down here though?
David is doing a phenomenal job of getting all the torque from that engine to the ground. Even back there in the twisty section, he was out torquing the Ferrari coming out at every corner.
Yeah, exactly. He's not being left behind by the Ferrari in the twisty section, which is already very remarkable. Not the least because it's Yves Placé actually driving that Ferrari.
Who's a very quick driver in his own right, but so is David, and David clearly, with the help of David Jaques, has that McLaren pretty well dialed in for this track. Of course, we have two cars off on turn 1, couldn't quite see who those drivers were, but looked a little bit strange, as again David gets up very close in the keyhole.
He has a line through turn 8, down to 9.
My apologies, I wasn't replayed that whole time. But up through Thunder Valley, very close behind. Oh, David! Oh god. No need to be quite that aggressive, I don't think.
Well, he got 2 wheels off coming out of turn 1, and then he couldn't, just from the drive difference between pavement and grass, he couldn't get back across the track to set up for turn 2. So he had a very shallow line going in there, and that threw him out in the middle of the game.
Ooh. David thought about a move. Carousel, quite get it together. Let's see, 16 laps remaining. This is crunch time for everyone.
Well, last time David John was quite lucky with his pass on Yves, but it seems that this time that luck is not working in his favor. Things are no longer that easy. I mean, it's the situation we've been repeating all the time, that arriving there is one thing and passing is for a different one.
Right, so as Yannick gets lapped, but David now has a bit of a run. Will he go for it? He tries. He had a real good think of it.
There.
Wherever he makes his move, it is going to take a lot of daring, unless traffic gets involved.
When here is some traffic. As David gets into the back of Yves as well, down for the braking for Thunder Valley, but that was Pascal Mikola. Miss McLaren, so Brian catches back up to him with that lapping. Now I think we'll follow the fight for the lead.
David is buzzing the rear tires coming out of every corner. In fact, the last corner on turn last, he actually is leaving black marks coming out of there.
You definitely can't. Oh, as Yves gets sideways, that could be David's opportunity. It is. He looks up the inside. He should have the advantage in power, but his gearbox didn't want to work with him that time around.
Yes.
Ooh, he's still sneaking up the inside though. Oh, and he makes the move.
There was that bit of daring, tires smoking the whole way.
Yeah, but you know, you can trust Eves. That's the good thing.
Yes.
Racing with such guys. I mean, I can think right now, the top of my head, of several ones which would have made a very different outcome of this situation.
Quite so close.
Eves is not giving it up either.
No, of course not. He's in the championship hunt. He's currently second, but if he wins this race, I think he should claim the lead in the championship going towards the next round if it finishes like this. So of course he'll want to get...
And Brian Jaques is again on Pascal Mikula's tail. Those two have still pending business, it seems.
Indeed. But since we have a few laps to go, and
Juha Boss is also behind them, and also fighting there for position. They're both 3 laps down. The 3 of them are 3 laps down, and he's catching up with Brian and Pascal.
that'll be interesting to watch. Well, actually, let's save the trivia question till after the event, while we can take the trivia question while we wait for drivers to join for interviews.
Let's see what happens now, because David, Jonatan and Eves are coming up to traffic.
Action everywhere.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't get action anywhere, sometimes it's all happening at the same time. That's crazy.
Very much so. That's Mick Chapman. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Marazzi!
Oh, sorry, that's Marazzi, my bad. I misidentified cars.
David misunderstood what Marazzi was going to do, and well, he finally hit him slightly, but hit him. I see a spin there in the front. Now the car is recovering.
That's Bruno Chacon and in one of the Lolas. As David gets very squarely coming onto the back straight.
Juha Boss passed Brian Jaques and is now behind Pascal Mikula.
Was Eves very sideways. Wow, nicely held.
And even more traffic for them both right now.
Yep, and in a very bad spot. There's Fitch, I believe that is, takes to the inside grass to get out of the way.
Lead.
Oh, sorry, Pascal Kalida gets out of the way, young to the grass. Bit of a daring move in a way to get out of the way, but it worked for him. Oh, Jason White runs wide in the carousel, trying to get out of the way. Oh, this will check up Eves a little bit more still.
Yeah.
Dave Miller just pulled out.
Wow, that's very unfortunate.
Yes, damage suspension. Well, obviously that was the outcome of the hit he got before.
Well, at least he got to have a great battle on his hands for most of the part of the race that he participated in, so...
So it's Juha Boss and Pascal Mikula right now.
Well, Yannick has dropped back, so he must have made a mistake somewhere yet again. Unfortunately.
As I was saying a little bit earlier, I would like to give a hats off to Pascal Mikula. He's driven a very nice race. Aside from a couple incidents, and I'm sure Brian Jaques took the heat on one of them, but Pascal, for the most part, has stayed very quick and very clean.
Indeed, and as we've seen earlier in in this series, that ain't easy to do.
No.
Of course, this is another duo that had a battle earlier on in the race. Duo being Pascal and Juha, so anything and everything can still happen right here. As Juha gets very close going into the chicane. And into the keyhole we go. See if we can possibly get a bit of a run.
Ooh.
No, I told you, it's not easy to outbrake Pascal.
Very much so.
You don't think that was a situation where Juha thought better of it? He just got flat out outbraked.
I think that Juha will try to, if there isn't a driver error, he will try to get Pascal on the straight. Not just on the brakes at the end, but he knows he must have a good advantage because Pascal brakes very late. So his best bet, in my opinion, is to either for after the break.
How did they do that?
Oh, dearie me.
Pascal didn't pay much attention there.
Oh, Martin was coming through, and I'm just watching the replay now. He got inside of Pascal, and Pascal cut for the apex. Okay, that wasn't as close as I thought it was.
So if Juha wants to pass, I think that his best bet would be to be, of course, closer to Pascal Mikula right now, but to come here in a way that forces Pascal to brake late and then gets parallel to him here for this turn and trying to make the pass here before this one. But he will need a lot of luck to do that.
Oh, definitely.
And to be much closer. Because here this is a very fast section, sweeping, where it's almost impossible to pass.
Now Brian Jaques back in the fight.
Indeed. Another one he could possibly do is try to force Pascal into a mistake going into Thunder Valley and then getting the power on better than Pascal down that short chute to the carousel.
You can force the driver into a mistake. That's of course always the chance to pass. But I was talking about how to pass him if there is no mistake by Pascal.
Indeed, as Brian Yannick gets held up a little bit. That's by Jason Fitch, unfortunately. Jason probably not realizing that's another very quick car behind him right now.
So here it is. Ideally, Juha should stay on the left and make Pascal defend on the right, and then he could do that move. But it's to do that he must go quicker on the straight.
But he is later on the brakes. Gets very close. That's probably a try. See how late how much later than Pascal he could possibly brake down now. He is a very calculating driver when he's in a battle, so I wouldn't put it past him right now, as I said earlier, testing his possible opportunities.
And calculating is the right word, because having run an endurance race with him, his mind is constantly crunching numbers and race organization and...
Yeah, but that's his personality, because if I remember correctly, he has been or is co-driver in real life in rallying. He's the guy who is there
I believe you're right.
reading the notes
Yes.
to the driver. I mean, he's the guy with the balls of steel, because he's not in control He's not in control of anything, but he's actually there going at the same speed as the other guy and with the same risk.
Quite so.
So that's what that was. I saw him jogging down the pits before the race, and I kept hearing tink, 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 tink.
Well, it's certainly one of the more braver things you can do in life, sitting beside a rally driver.
Oh my God!
Considering
that's
some of
what
them
you say
are a
because
bit insane.
That's what you say because you're not married, Jonathan.
Okay, fair enough,
Oh,
I suppose. I said one of the bravest, I didn't say it was the bravest thing to do.
well, we know Alberto's wife is out of the house right now.
Better not let her see this broadcast.
Otherwise, I'd be out in 1 minute.
Yeah, well, as in the immortal words in one of the many phrases Mary Walker quoted during his commentating live, when I believe it was Jonathan Palmer who rear-ended Nathan Lindgren in one of the BTCC races in the 90s. I believe it was in 1990, possibly 91. She jumped out of the car, furious, opened the car, shouted at Palmer, "What do you think you're doing?" and then slammed the door shut, to massive ovations of the grandstand that was right beside the racetrack where they were both sitting in the gravel trap. And Mary Walker incredibly said, "Fury, hell hath no fury like a woman rammed." And of course Mary Walker was quite good at those one sentence phrases of different natures. And also I would say one of the most professional commentators / broadcasters to ever make a venture into that craft.
Yeah, and also we know him for the fantastic duo he did with James Hunt in the Formula One. But actually, you can see many races broadcasted by him absolutely solo. I mean, he carried the whole weight of the broadcast, and he did brilliantly.
Certainly was the dean of motorsports broadcasting.
So you have also right now very frustrated. Because there doesn't seem to be any place where he can have a definite advantage over Pascal, so as to try to put a move on him.
Hey, another little call out. Jason Fitch is no longer the last car running. And hats off to him. I did, driving the M8F, and luck I've had with that. I did try to help him at Road Atlanta in the car he had at that time, and fairly similar to the car he's got now. But the difference between handling one of those and handling one of those new McLarens was night and day. That car was just a complete handful from what I was used to. And these guys driving these older McLarens and older Lolas are just phenomenal in my estimation.
Yeah, last classified now is Pascal Calide, whose car is certainly honoring the family name of the car owner.
Butcher?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it, indeed. Let's see.
Oh, U-Haul's there now.
Oh dear, let's get back up there. He's looking up the inside, but...
Nah, you want to get him on the brakes. It's just forcing him maybe into a kind of error there, but it's not easy.
Certainly not, and I believe Pascal made a mistake
You can probably get Pascal to make an error power steering out of a corner, but not on the brakes. I've not seen him fail there many times.
But he failed once in this race there, and that was to Jaques.
Yeah, but he miscalculated what Brian Jaques was able to do. So he rammed him from behind, but I have no doubt that with the same braking maneuver, Pascal would have been able to go through the turn safely if Brian had not been there.
Very difficult to say, but while you're talking of Jaques, he's right behind them, catching up once again. And of course, Brian, driving one of the older McLarens, of course struggles a bit more with lapping or being lapped than Johan and Pascal does, and that's why he's dropping back every now and then, but clearly he's very quick in that blue machine.
But Juha is certainly much smoother than Pascal coming out of the turn, because you can see the black marks that Pascal wheels are leaving in the ground, whereas in the case of Jaques there is absolutely no wheel spin. All the thrust is being used to move forward in his car.
Indeed. I thought Johan may have been up beside Pascal going down into Thunder Valley, but he could have a good run coming out of here though. Not quite. Oh, but he is...
Ooh, easy.
He really is wanting to get by now, because he has probably seen in his rearview mirrors that Brian is once again catching up. Oh, as he makes a mistake, and that's Brian going through.
Well, only 3 laps to the end, but in the case of these drivers it will be shorter than that, because there are some laps down.
Indeed, well, I think Pascal can't think of anything else than wanting the race to finish at the moment.
That's the funny thing, he's going slower than the cars behind. He's punching the whole traffic behind him, but nobody's able to pass him. He's a true bottleneck on the track.
Indeed. As Timo gets out of the way of Pascal, Pascal gets a little bit sideways, but works out alright. So Brian now has to try and get by, and he does.
Oh, and Ray has dropped out.
Oh no!
Accident, suspension failure. Oh, I see the car upside down in the replay.
Oh dear. Looks like he had a big off down the back straight somewhere.
That's very unfortunate.
Oh no, it's in the pit. It's in the pit entry. Oh, he hit the curb and probably bounced around and hit the pit entry wall. Oh, dearie me.
So that puts Martin Lacina in the podium.
Indeed.
Which is an amazing debut for him in this car.
He'll probably be very, very happy with that. We'll see, I believe this will be the final lap that David Junt is heading on to right now. If I'm not mistaken.
Brian Jaques trying to make a move from Pascal.
Oh, this battle's going to go right to the wire.
And Juha was close again, not willing to miss the fun.
Indeed, and they will actually have another lap after this one, because they are currently ahead of David Junt to just enter this final lap. When David Saber... Well, I don't know, David Saber might have enough gap behind him so that he just feels like, nah, I don't need to get involved in this. Like he did at Watkins Glen, he just stayed back from the battle between Sturr and Riddle, I think it was, battling for 4th and 5th.
Oh,
yeah, there's no need.
Ooh.
Very little to gain and everything to lose if he sticks his nose into this beehive.
Indeed. when Brian will have one more chance because they haven't finished yet. Let's quickly go back to David Junt because he's heading for the
Ooh, and a
carousel.
touch.
That's how you pass, using the elbows.
Yes.
We'll watch that.
Oh, Juha boss, that's unfortunate what happened there.
David Junt in the meantime takes the finish flag and finishes first with Rios Place second. Let's quickly go back to that battle and see. Oh, Juha Boss has unfortunately spun. Let's see if we can.
Boss is totaled.
Oh!
Yeah, he touched with Pascal, he bounced it back and hit one of those.
One of those markers, yeah.
Solid markers.
Well, I honestly can't say that was the fault of either driver from just watching it like that, but that was very unfortunate indeed. But here comes Martin
Pascal was
Alsina.
absolutely to the right, so nothing more he could do.
Martin Alsina finishes on the podium.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Will can go through that. Well, you can do that now because David Saber has quite a while to get to the finish line.
No, I was saying that they were waving a little bit, but I think what happened is that both came together at the same time. Pascal to the left and Juha to the right, and that gave more energy to the hit. But this is not over yet. Oh, Brian Janik will have to fight for this one.
Ooh, finishing right behind David Saber here. Saber gets fourth with Yannick and Pascal finishing there.
Oh, Pascal wasn't happy with that.
Adam Hackman looks like he'll come home in fifth actually, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Adam Hackman gets fifth after a somewhat quiet race. Sixth will have been, I think, yep, he's finished. So sixth was Jason Whited. Seventh was Gabriel Sturr after a quiet race. Eighth for Mick Chapman in his debut for BRM. I think he should be pretty happy with that. Ninth is Brian Yannick. 10th for Pascal Mikola. 11th, and actually getting to the finish line, is Juha Boss, but he probably won't be happy with that. His car completely totaled and out of the points, unfortunately. But he did manage to finish, and even though he did it on 3 wheels, I'd say that should be okay. 12th will have been Ray Riddell, who retired. 13th is Timo Vermeersch. 14th for Bruno Chacon. Filippo Marazzi finishes 15th, I believe. Yep. And Jason Fitch finishes 16th, quite a few laps down. And Pascal Kalide finishes as well in 17th. I believe he will have been the last finisher. He is indeed. But of course, understandably, David Junt has done his donuts and heading into the pits after a well-deserved victory. He was clearly the quickest driver on track tonight and put on a terrific display of driving ability. But yeah, let's head for the trivia question while we wait for drivers to join the broadcast booth. There we are. So the question once again were, who won the Buckeye Can-Am held at Mid-Ohio on August 17th, 1969? Was it A. Bruce McLaren, B. Denny Hulme, or C. Chris Amon? Any thoughts either in the chat or from you guys? I know Alberto shows Denny Hulme earlier. Would you like to stick with that, or do you prefer to change?
I don't know if Chris Amon's in there as a ringer or not. I'm going to say Bruce McLaren.
Okay. And the actual answer to the question, the driver who won the race at Mid-Ohio in 1969 was Denny Hulme, driving the number 5. I believe that's a McLaren.
Yes. The Denny and Bruce Show.
Indeed. Let's do a quick like so. Let's see. Let's see if I can actually do that or not.
Those three guys in the green room, you have to ask them a question. We're here till 7 o'clock this evening.
Well, actually, since I can't pull them in here, let's change channel. So we'll quickly head down to the green room and have a chat with them all.
I have to leave now. It's a bit late here. It was great fun to broadcast with you again. And see you on the next one. Everybody stay tuned for this week, where we will have the big announcement of the Indy 500.
Hey.
See you.
Thank you very much, Alberto, and take care.
Take care,
User
Alberto.
disconnected from your channel. User left your
Does somebody have some ice cubes? I think my wheel is burning hole.
The broadcast is still going, so I'd like to chat with you guys a little bit, if that's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Just going to. You were in for quite a bit. Yeah, I have it on off, so. We caught one or two, but anyway, I'll just get the sound on again, and I'll have a bit of an interview with you guys. So one moment.
Yeah.
Here we go. We are in the different channel. So first of all, congratulations, David, on your fantastic win tonight. It looked like you had quite a bit of work to get there.
Indeed.
You were moved. User was moved to your channel.
Apologies. Looks like Jason White is here to do that. So please, David, continue on where you were.
Yeah, first thing I have to thank David Jaques for encouraging and motivate me, because before the start I felt dizzy. I thought I wouldn't get up to pace, and he showed me what's possible with my own car, and then I was surprised that I got close to it, but not as perfect as he
User
did.
was moved to your channel.
Qualifying,
User was moved to your channel. User was moved to
I
your
had like
channel.
one good lap, and then I think I managed a second good lap where
User
I
was moved to your channel. User
for some
was moved to
time
your channel.
took potion until Eves, of course, came in and took it. And well, second place on the grid was great, decent, and then I kind of jumped Eves at the start, but without warning, really noticing it, I just lost it, went back to P19. After that, I just, well, a bit of anger, or a bit angry about my own mistake for just carelessly dropping it since I had good pace. And then, yeah, I came through the field. I was so surprised that I was actually catching the top guys, even if some of them spun or retired. I was still surprised I managed to get up there, and I had a great battle with Eves. And Eves was very fast, and I had another spin on the curb, lost the lead again. It was a bit a worrisome place because I was a bit far out there, but I managed to catch back, get lead, and then I knew that Eves had reserves, and he gave me a run for my money until the line. I wasn't sure of it. I could have lost it at the last turn, for example. He gave me a great fight. I'm very thankful that he kept me on the toes, and it was a great race by everyone. Most people that I saw were really careful letting us through. So yeah, I enjoyed that race. One of the best that I had.
That's great to hear. So again, congratulations, David, and let's see. We had two very close battles in the in the race besides the leading one, and almost everyone in both those battles are here. So let's see. Let's begin. You have boss. You had quite a hectic race by the looks of things, but came home.
Very hectic.
Came home with a
Had some
crippled car.
Well, each time I got to Pascal, I either went off or we nudged, or I never got by. And on the last lap, I finally got him. I went on the inside, and well, 3 cars into one turn, and I got blown off into something very solid which didn't move. And I ended up with 3 wheels and a few other missing bits.
We unfortunately saw your crippled car coming across the finish line then.
I finished 11th on 3 wheels. I think that's not bad.
No, I think that's.
I thought I was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I thought I was going to have to do. I thought I was going to have to do my Ken Squire there on that last lap. You know, and there's a fight. Especially what you and Pascal got together, and that was just a racing thing. And yes, Pascal, you did get touched in turn 1 on the last lap.
That was Brian. That is I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I hit him once in the carousel in 1 lap, but that was like a little touch, and he just I don't know if he floored it there at that moment or not, because from that little touch he just spun around, and from that point on he tried to wreck me. At least that's what it seemed. Like he touched me in the rear like at least 3 times the rest of the race, and once even went off at the end of the second split in 1 lap, where Juha even was behind him, and I asked him if he was actually trying to wreck me, but Juha couldn't see it. And then in the last corner, well, he hit me in the rear, and that whole thing, and because of damage that Juha and I sustained earlier in an incident we had at the end of the back straight, we have both had bent steering, and that basically led to Juha's little date with the hay bale that didn't want to move.
Well, that's very unfortunate.
Basically just damage and that hit in the rear, and that hit. I mean, I hit Juha, yeah, but that was like completely unintentional, and I mean, I apologized already to him like once or twice.
Yeah, from where I looked, I was alongside you, and then suddenly some orange thing turns left, and to me, that wasn't nice.
That's what happens if you pair about, I don't know, 700 horsepower with a bent steering arm.
Well, I got used to it. I wasn't going slower.
Well, between the 3 of you guys, you had a fantastic battle going almost the whole race. And when you did get separated, you kept finding each other.
Well, you can thank me for that, because I'm that slow guy.
I wouldn't say slow, no. It just was, yes, and there was a little bit, but rubbing is racing, and there was a little bit of, but you guys ran amazingly tight for a good part of the race, and had a great, got a lot of coverage, let's put it that way, on the broadcast. Same with Emo and Dave Miller. Another great battle going on the whole race.
Indeed, and since... Sorry, go ahead, Pascal.
Well, it would have been even like one more participant in that big battle. It would have been Mick, but I cut the chicane in one corner because I just lost concentration, and I let him by, because otherwise it would have been an unfair advantage. I just cut the corner completely because I just completely lost it there, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to crash, so I went straight on. And until the end of the race, he was like half a lap ahead of me, so I couldn't really do anything.
Well, it's one of those racing things, but as Scott said, you guys had a fantastic battle, and he also mentioned other battles, so I don't know who we should technically start with, but Timo, you haven't had that many battles, from what I've seen on the broadcast anyway, during the season, but this time out you had a very close battle for almost the whole race. How was that from your point of view. And since Timo doesn't seem to be here at the moment, unless he's muted.
Oh,
I'm there.
Ah,
Hey guys.
he's muted his
Sorry.
mic.
I forgot my push to talk button.
Okay, go ahead, Timo.
Well,
How
at
was
least you
that on
only
your
forgot it.
seat?
No, it was a pretty intense race. Just before the race, I went for a swim. I closed the pool, but I think I'm going to reopen it before going to sleep because I'm sweating like some guy, some kind of old mafioso who just spent the night with his goma. It was terribly intense. I think the battle with Dave was kind of a strange battle. He was always either 3-4 seconds in front of me, either 3-4 seconds behind. So it was more a psychological battle. You always knew he was there, and that you were not entitled to any error. And then I think around lap 60, we went some laps together. I took some defensive lines on the back stretch because there, of course, the Porsche is always handicapped by lack of power. We had a slight touch at the end. I'm not sure whether that was my fault. I need to see the replay. In any case, if I was overly defensive there, apologies. And then after that, he fell back, and then it was quite a lonely race till the end. So it was a good race, I think. I think there's not much more you can do that I can do with this car for the moment.
Well, it was
And Dave is here as well.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dave. How was that battle or race from your point of view?
It was good fun while it lasted. As Timo said, great battle with him going on there. Just at the end, I'm not sure what happened. I haven't seen any replay either. I'm just going to go with two cars going for a bit of track, and that's racing. So, but yeah, I think I had the power on the straight, but Timo seemed to get off the corner a lot better than me, and seemed to be a bit better through the corners. I think if we had the same car, he probably would have bested me quite easily there.
Well, maybe, but I mean, the biggest difference between your cars in terms of how they were on the straight was that Timo's engine is a 5-liter displacement, while yours is 7, so he would have an easier time getting the power on early. But of course, you had the power down the later parts of the straight. And,
I indeed often had the impression with Dave and also with other cars behind me that for some reason I managed to put the power down much earlier coming out of the hairpin, and that allowed me to take a little gap onto the backstretch, which often allowed me just to make it until the more twisty parts, where then I could breathe a little bit.
I'd say as well, Timo, you're a lot on the brakes going into that turn 4 or whatever one it is at the end of the straight.
Well, I think the Porsche is lighter, of course, so you can brake later with the car.
that is a very fair point, and we saw that in actuation in other battles as well during the race.
Yes, I think Timo and Dave. I mean, and Timo and Dave, and then Juha and Pascal and Brian. Two different epic battles going on through most of the race, and it was very entertaining to watch. And I thank all you guys for it was something.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Well, at some points it was even an unintentional battle. As I said, when like, I don't quite know, but I think at some point Brian was really so angry at me because I'm kind of slow in the corners, but then again fast on the straights. He was so angry he actually hit Jason Fitch in the rear, exactly at the same spot in the carousel where I accidentally hit him, and basically also spun him around. So I was kinda getting afraid of that car at that point in the race because I was kind of scared he was trying to push me off.
Well, the racing was heated, of course. Hearts and minds may have gotten a bit heated as well along the way, but either way, the racing was really good to watch, very fun to watch, and overall a fantastic event in many regards, in terms of broadcasting it anyway. And I'd like to thank all of you guys for joining us in the broadcast booth for a bit of a chat and for putting on a great show. Again, congratulations to David also for the win of the event. And, Scott, any final thoughts for the event before we cap off the broadcast?
Well, from front to back, I think everybody did a fantastic job. Even the guys that just trying to hang on to the car, the older McLarens and Lolas, and you guys were racing those beautifully. David Yunt, fantastic job. You deserve the win. You were putting the power down in a greatly overpowered car, but you managed to still out torque that Ferrari through the twisty bits of the track and then use the speed on the straightaway. And the rest of you guys, great battles, great fun to watch, and I thank you all, and I thank everybody for tuning in to watch.
So with that, thank you very much everyone for tuning in and watching, and thank you to all the racers. And the next event that will be broadcasted, I think, is the F1 71 race at Zandvoort, which will be in, I believe, a week, possibly 2 weeks' time. And then, of course, there will be the Grand Indianapolis 500 event with qualifying the week and before the race, I believe, with bumping, which Jason White will be very excited about as usual. And yeah, until then, thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you all have a good end to your Sunday and a good week up ahead. Good night and take care.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Fuck.